Hello and welcome to the Wednesday check-in here on Landy's Crypto Corner. Today is March 12th, 2025, and we're looking at Bitcoin as always. We're starting out with the daily here as I drop stuff all over my desk. It was only one item, but I still dropped it anyway. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the daily. We do have a low set now. As of the last time that we spoke, we were looking at the Monday candle as kind of the criteria, right? If we were to see a low set in the Tuesday candle, it would have needed to close above the Monday candle. In this case, it's still Wednesday. Thursday session is open though, and it closed above the Tuesday high ever so slightly at, it was 83,600 at the high. We got the close there at 83,659. So, the low is closed. This is a lower low swing and a lower low close here, down by the lower second standard deviation. Now, we've talked about this a few times. We got the nice compression and a really, really deep compression here for price action here, as it was just going sideways forever on a closing basis. Bands compressed nearly fully around price. Got the big breakout to the downside, otherwise known as a breakdown. This was an expansion down through the lower second and even closing outside of the lower third standard deviation. A little bit of mean reversion, retest of the lower second, rejection at the basis for another bit of mean. Sorry, there's kids playing in the background. Another bit of mean reversion back to the basis band, and then another test of the lower second standard deviation. Now that we have a low closed, we can take a look at RSI and see, this is still clear downtrend, obviously. So, we need to see lower lows on price action and then higher lows on RSI. And I believe we've gotten that at this point to give us at least a drive of bullish divergence. Yep, we are outside of the bullish control zone now as well. Let's look at a few important places to pay attention to. Scale midline is at $89,000. Bullish control zone is at $100,000. So scale midline being the 50 read, and then the edge of the bullish control zone there is at the, I believe it's going to be our, it's going to be our 62 read or something like that. Yeah, for this particular indicator. And sometimes 60, sometimes 62. It just depends on preference. In this case, it's 62. This is a well back-tested RSI indicator. So, there's some interesting places to make note of. $89,000 is the prior weekly higher low on a swing that Bitcoin has broken down from. So that is an interesting place. And just above 100,000, almost $101,000 is actually a key level of overhead resistance, right around $100,000 to $101,000 from the prior range above, kind of that 101 to 104 area. So kind of lining up with some important levels that we've talked about in the past. Just curious where we would see a retest of the edge of the bearish control zone here. That would come in on any kind of close back towards $80,500, $80,000, give or take, for margin of error while the Thursday candle is open. We can look at a few more things, and that is, what is the criteria to break the downtrend? Again, that kind of remains the same. It was previously at $95,000 or just slightly above. Now it is this lower high at 92,800 or so. This does create an overhead zone of interest here between the swing high. You can even take the closing high if you want, but we need to see a close above the swing high of the last lower high to actually break the downtrend in this case, and that's at 92,800. For lower term timeframes, you might want to mark the high if you are trading and price does start to rise towards that level. And we'll define some more criteria here for what to look at in general in just a moment. But that's the big area right there, especially getting back above the bottom side of the candle closes here in swings and really starting to push back towards $100,000. That's when bulls, I do believe, get back in control. Not just of being in the lower end of the range that Bitcoin has fallen out of, but starting to get back into control of that range and pushing towards those highs again above $100,000, of course. and getting above some key levels of resistance that kind of brought price down here in the first place. So let's go ahead and define some criteria for the downside here as well. Pretty easy. We have not seen any closes below the 78,167. And while we have talked about this in prior videos and other live streams and even on Spaces stages, price can dip under here and maybe even hit some of the further downside targets we've talked about previously. Not really looking for too much more on it unless we see closes below the swing low at 78,167. Now, lower term time frame closes likely going to go down and hit at least this swing low here at 76,555. We talked about this on Monday. The lower second standard deviation is around $75,000 and rising now because the weekly candle is turning green. So we're more at that. We're kind of essentially at where if price continues to rise as Bitcoin plays between the lower second here and the lower first standard deviation of the weekly Bollinger Band set, as price rises towards the lower first, we could even see that lower second get pulled up into this wick low, which would qualify if Bitcoin would qualify as target hit by that lower second if Bitcoin can close back above this lower first standard deviation in the next week or so and continue to compress the bands. Otherwise, if price does continue, if price falls again, that lower second was around $75,000. So that's still kind of a key area before going and retesting, 73,835 to around initially, I would look at like $68,000 to that prior high of this range down here at 73,835. I know that there's some people that have specific targets in there and you can come up with your own. I have my own very specific targets in that zone, but that's not really what this video is about. It's trying to find define some of the criteria for continuing down and possibly breaking this downtrend and maybe starting to put in some trend reversal structure. Right now, we don't have any of that. This is still a downtrend. This is a lower low swing and a lower low close in a downtrend. And being below the basis band here at $87,000, not great. We need to see Bitcoin recover that, break the lower high, go into higher high structure, which right now that lower high is right around that upper first standard deviation. And it's actually, it's 92,800 by the swing high here, and the upper first is around 91,800. So there's about $1,000 difference. Doesn't look like much, but this is log scale. And then, of course, get up there to the upper second if we could see something like that around $97,000. That would look good, starting to reclaim this compressive price action up here where this move down originated from. We can check on a few more things. Let's check on daily stochastic momentum, and then we'll turn on support and resistance. Now, we have seen on the close a low put in on bullish divergence for RSI. The next piece that we want to see is a close above, at least in the Thursday candle for right now. And of course, we'll follow up with this on Friday with the Friday kind of with our recap that we do for the week and kind of what to look forward to over the weekend or what to watch over the weekend. We need to see closes above around $84,800 to $85,000 to turn stochastic momentum to the upside here. And this does tell me that we still have to be cautious of possible tests down further until we start to see price move to the upside and we have bullish divergence in both places, our RSI, and we see a turn in the stochastic momentum. And so, of course, none of it matters while Bitcoin is still in a downtrend, to be quite honest. It's just a bounce in the midst of a downtrend. None of it matters until we see a lower high taken out. So $92,800, $93,000, depending on your chart, is the number to beat for Bitcoin bulls right now on a closing basis. And still, that's right up against resistance. And to prevent, just a deviation of trend like what we saw with this higher low, we need to see continuation up, preferably above those areas, and then come back down for higher low, equal low structure as it relates to this most recent lower low. So essentially what that would look like is, come up, let's say, come break this downtrend right up top there. And you want to see something like this. If you're bullish, you want to see a break of it and then come back down in higher low, equal low structure, whatever that looks like. Doesn't matter. This is just an example, but come up and even if it's just slightly higher highs, we want to see higher highs, higher low structure if we're bullish, right? That's what we're looking for. This is your trend reversal setup, and it doesn't have to retrace this deep. It can come down to equal lows, but that would still be your reversal setup in this case from here as it stands right now, provided Bitcoin doesn't, put in like a lower high right here, right? Like let's say it puts in a daily lower high. We get the Thursday candle close below 80,500 or so. That would be a lower high. And then, bulls would want to see this lower low hold and then this lower high taken out, right? So it just looks something like this. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. That's just kind of like what you would want to see. You just see, something like this and then come down maybe for slightly higher, lower, equal low structure, probably just open for higher low structure, not continuation of the downtrend, but that would be the hopium for the bulls in this case. But yeah, we do have a few lower term time frame things that are going in the bulls direction in terms of momentum. Again, the 12-hour has not closed below that 78,167, which has kind of prevented continuation to the downside. If we do start seeing it down there again and below, that's expansion on the 12-hour to the downside because it would put it below this wick low and below the lower second standard deviation. If we saw closes below here, headed down towards this wick low to like $75,000 and then possibly into that 73, $835 to $68,000 retest of the prior year's kind of big consolidation high side structure. And in the 12-hour, we do have a little bit of a momentum divergence here as well as bullish divergence. It is just, one complete drive between these two lows here. And momentum on its side, close above 78,600 or so, would continue that momentum up. Remember, there are, of course, two 12-hour closes in this Thursday candle, so it is something to monitor. If you need this indicator here for the Bollinger Bands, it's the Landy Bands. It's free. It's in the bit.ly link in my X profile or in the video link in the description down, or in the link in the description down below the video on YouTube in this case. Let's look at support and resistance as it stands right now. This is just kind of the main thing to pay attention to here is kind of where things are lining up. So we've got our main zone up here, the red zone that was lost, $85,000. This daily swing low of the first bear candle post expansion from the prior range is at $85,000. And then we've got a few areas of interest like the weekly higher low close above. And then we have that 101 to 104 zone and then the highs. Well, Bitcoin's got a lot of work to do. It's like in between major overhead resistance now after losing this upper consolidation and what can be viewed as major supports down below before price auction back up. This hasn't been tested yet, right? Like we got some bit of daily testing, a rejection at the high side of that range prior to some support held around the previous, one of the previous lower highs at 68 or just below before taking off. We haven't seen a major retest, like a weekly retest. That could be in the cards, of course, on any closes below the current low. And it's very highly likely that would be in the cards. But in this case, positive things for the bulls would be regaining that $85,000 and the basis band slightly above at around 85.5, going up to that upper first standard deviation and getting above it. You could see it's right there at this higher low. This is one of the higher lows as Bitcoin is chopping up to brand new all-time highs. This is at that 88,700. We see the upper first standard deviation is right there. And then you see what's bracketing that zone, this rejective zone up here, right where we have that lower high to beat is the upper second standard deviation, just above $92,000. Of course, a positive would be reclaiming that weekly higher low closing structure. And of course we got to pay attention to in that zone, just above is a weekly level, just above that upper first on the daily. So, and then of course, anywhere back below the lower second standard deviation at 78,740 or so, we're either already running this wick low at 78,167. If we haven't run it yet, then we'll likely run it. And this lower low, if it starts closing below there, get expansion below the last lower low. We're looking for expansion into support, that 73,835 to around $68,000. So a few things to pay attention to there coming into our Friday session. So watch this throughout the Thursday session. I'd say you want to see, bulls start to reclaim 85 and above, start working their way towards, the actual overhead resistance here now at that 88.7 to 92K. Then that gives the bulls a shot at that 92.8 to $93,000 up there at that lower high. And just hold that $78,000 basically. Just hold that. And that's kind of it. You all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe. And of course, as always, stay safe. With all of that being said, Landy out. Take care.